Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman coming to you from our studios at the Capital Region International Airport. We're going to make our way towards the West Coast, however, today, and that's, of course, over in Grand Rapids. Kim Bode is going to join us. She is the, let me give you all her credentials, right? She's the dog rescuer.
Yeah.
She's the community advocate, vigilante, so to speak, and a proud Michigan business owner, 834 marketing. And by the way, Kim, let's just refresh everybody. What 834? Tell us a little bit about it.
Integrated communications agency. Probably the easiest way to describe us is we really do work as like your marketing department. So 10 of us for essentially the price of one employee.
There you go.
So it's quite the bargain, I'd say. But we also do, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I will tell you too, quality people.
Yes. Yes. And I will say too, like a lot of the stuff that we really kind of also specialize in is, is public relations, crisis communication, that kind of stuff. So we do a lot of national public relations. So we work with a lot of local companies and a lot of statewide and national companies. So,
well, and nothing turns a company's fortunes like a crisis, right?
And it's so funny to me is like, it's always the planning starts after the crisis. And for the love of all that is holy, please start it before. Just think about all the bad things that could happen and have a plan for it. That is like after the crisis is too late. It's too late, people.
So tell me what some of the mistakes, besides pre-planning, right? Besides having a procedure set for the crisis. Tell me what are some of the common mistakes companies make in that?
They get defensive, because the majority of crisis management happens after the crisis. I would love for that to change, but realistically, it happens after the crisis. And then it's going to be more expensive, which is important for people to know. Like after the crisis, it's going to cost a lot more for a PR firm to help you or an expert to help you because they're already having to do damage control. They get defensive. They don't want to take ownership. They don't want to fix it. And I always tell people public perception is reality. So whether you actually are responsible for the crisis or not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And that's a hard thing for companies to wrap their heads around. Like you cannot get defensive. You cannot say, well, it wasn't us, it was them. Like, first of all, that's going to come off horribly. You need to own it. You need to acknowledge it, and then you need to fix it. And that fixing part needs to be the actions you're taking to ensure that it never happens again.
Okay, so that leads to the next question. And what pops in my mind always, the importance of having a plan ahead of time.
Yeah.
I think of the utility companies, a storm comes through, 8,000 people without power. How do you handle that? I think of the Allers problem when somebody said Allers caused carcinogens and it was part of the spray they were putting on apples. Totally destroyed the apple industry for 2 years. So they found out it wasn't accurate. But nobody ever has a plan for that. So let's talk about the importance of that plan.
I think the first thing when you're talking about a plan is to think of all the worst case scenarios. We're working with a company right now and we're saying, what are all the things that could happen that you don't want to happen? And then you start there. And then it's identifying who the spokespeople are going to be for the company. And there can be different spokespeople depending on different, levels or different responsibilities within the company. And then it's like the availability of that spokesperson. And then it's the training and it's the development of the messaging. And it's also having statements ready to go based off of like what any of those could be. It's also having solid media relationships. It's knowing the avenues you're going to push the message out with, whether that's social media, whether that's your website, whether that's like going live, or it's, it's on YouTube, or whether that's utilizing the media. But the first thing you need to know is what's the bad stuff that could happen? Who are the people that are best able to discuss it or respond to it? And then specifically, what are we going to say? And then, that's all before. And then it's also like, you do some run throughs. We literally do run throughs. Like we do scenarios and we say, okay, here's a live scenario. What are we doing? And then we will specifically create like a call tree, and like we'll work with like the, the C level executives. And we just, the biggest thing is making sure they understand that it requires, you need to be quick. You have to respond immediately, because if you don't, someone else has already created the narrative.
Well, that crucial part too is having the designated responders, because media wants to grab the first person there.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have a consistent and a well-delivered message, you got a little problem. Okay, so we've only got about a minute and a half left. Michigan is home to a lot of small businesses, a lot of major corporations. Is there a difference in how their plans should be laid out?
No, there really isn't. It's the same. I mean, with larger companies, you have your more bureaucracy and red tape to go through. With larger companies, you also have to make sure that message filters down, because I don't care if it's your janitor, there will be questions that are asked of those different individuals that work at the company. And if they also don't know how to respond, or they don't know how to redirect the answer, or say, you know what, I can't speak to that, but I know this person who can, or let me refer you to our crisis portal or whatever it is. So no, it's the same, but sometimes you just have more people you have to go through, and that means there's going to be more training that's required.
Well, listen, as is always the case with you, I wish I had another hour. And I would say to people, you're a great one to get in touch with for all this. So Kim Bode, the CEO of 834 Marketing.
81, 834, whatever.
What is it? I've got 834.
It's 834. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's right. Well, you've been noted for that actually over the years. Thanks for joining us, Kim. It's always good to have you on. All right, you're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman. Hang in there. We'll be back with more.